guys, it is the Turtle Girl. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about slider and painted turtle care. Alright, so before we get started, really quickly, I just want to say, first of all, why I'm grouping these two species together is because sliders and painteds are actually native to much of the same areas, and so for that reason, their habitat and care requirements are very similar, and so much of what applies to one species also applies to the other, so for that reason, they're being grouped together. Also, I wanted to mention that turtle care across the board for a wide variety of species of turtles is very similar, and a lot of the same principles apply. So I have done a general turtle care video, which you might want to watch before you watch this. So I'm not going to go into those basic guidelines today. Today we're just talking about specifically painted turtles and slider turtles. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we have to ask when looking at what is the best way to care for an animal is, where is it native to and what is its natural habitat? The reason we ask this question is because once we know where an animal is from, what its natural habitat looks like, then we can go ahead and try to replicate that natural environment as closely as possible in captivity. So painted turtles and slider turtles are both native to North America. The slider turtle comes from the central to southeastern area of the United States, extending a little bit into Mexico, and the painted turtle goes all the way from the east coast to the west coast, just into southern Canada. And so with such a wide range of habitat, sliders and painted turtles are both very, very adaptable to many different conditions. And so this is a good thing to know, because that means that in captivity, they're able to survive and even thrive in a wide variety of conditions. Now, as for the sizes that these turtles can grow to with these sliders, the red-eared slider, the Cumberland slider, the yellow-bellied slider, females will grow to about 12 to 13 inches, with males being a few inches smaller than that. And with the painted turtles, there are actually 4 different subspecies: western, midland, southern, and eastern. The largest subspecies, the females can get to about 9 inches, and with the smallest subspecies, the southern painted, females might grow to about 6 inches. Keep in mind that males are almost always smaller than the females, at least by a couple inches, and so that's something to consider when thinking about how much space you want to dedicate to a turtle tank. Speaking of tank size, I'm sure you've heard of the 10 gallons per inch of shell rule for turtles. That definitely applies here. One thing to keep in mind though is that these turtles absolutely love to swim and are very, very active, and so if you can provide them more than 10 gallons per inch of shell, they would definitely appreciate that and will utilize every inch of space that you have in your aquarium. And another thing to keep in mind is that these turtles are also very good swimmers, so you have no reason to fear with filling the tank all the way up. The water depth does not only have to be halfway full, you can fill it up all the way, so long as they are not a baby turtle that is still trying to figure out how to swim. If your turtle was previously kept in water that was only halfway full in the tank, then you can slowly increase that just to make sure that their muscles will have a chance to get used to that deeper water depth. So just increase it an inch or two at a time, going slowly so that their muscles can continue to build up and they can be strong enough swimmers. But once they are comfortable in deeper water, they will use all that space to swim. So give them the biggest tank that you have space for, and the 10 gallons per inch of shell rule is a great place to start. Second thing, filtration. So another thing to know about these turtles is that they produce a lot of waste, pretty much like any turtles, but just keep in mind that you will need to be providing a lot of filtration. Most people recommend 2 to 3 times the amount of water volume in your tank. So if you have 20 gallons of water in your tank, you're going to want at least a filter or filters rated for 40 gallons or more, potentially even up to 60. For more on the topic of filtration, I have other videos on that, so you can definitely check those out. Now, temperatures. So for these turtles, like I said in the beginning, they're very hardy and adaptable. So with adult turtles, really room temperature can be sufficient for them as long as that temperature is not dropping below like 65 degrees. For baby turtles and juveniles, you do want to keep that a little bit warmer because it helps protect their immune system. Remember, turtles are cold-blooded, so their internal temperature is regulated by the temperatures around them. So put a heater on your baby and juvenile turtles. Keep them at maybe 76 to 78 degrees so that they they will be able to thrive. And then once they're adults, you can allow them to be at room temperature. And so that is for heating in the aquarium. Now onto a very important topic, which is basking areas. So painted turtles and slider turtles love to bask. They're actually part of a category of turtles that are known as basking turtles because they spend a lot of time out of the water, sunning themselves on a rock, on a log, and absorbing those rays of sunshine. And so for these turtles, I definitely recommend providing a nice, sturdy, good basking area. Personally, I prefer above tank basking areas like the one you see here in my Diamondback Terrapin tank. These are basking areas that will sit above the tank and have a ramp going into the water, so you can fill the tank all the way up, but also have a nice, large area for your turtle to come out of the water and bask. You will want to have your UVB bulbs and heat bulbs up there as always, so definitely get some of those for your slider or painted turtle. Now as for the temperature in the basking area, you should have hot spot areas of up to maybe 92, 93 degrees, all the way down to the low 80s. So let your basking area be warm, make sure your turtle is basking frequently. A good sign of a turtle's health is that it is going up to bask. But although do keep in mind, especially when you first get these turtles, they might be kind of shy and unused to their environment around them, so it might take them a while to bask. So don't be stressed if within the first couple of days or even the first couple of weeks, if you don't see your turtles basking. It's possible that they're just getting used to their new environment and have not had the confidence to go up into a basking area, or that they're just basking when you're not seeing it and immediately slide into the water when they hear you coming. That's actually where sliders get their name, is because when they're basking, when they get scared, they will just slide into the water. They're sliders. So that is what I have to say about basking areas for sliders and painteds. Alright, so we've talked about tank size, filtration, heating, lighting, basking areas. Now we have to talk about diet. So these turtles are omnivores. They feed on fish, insects, roughage and greens that they find in the water. And so in captivity, I recommend feeding them a variety of different well-formulated turtle pellets. I will link a few that I use personally in the description below. One thing to note is that the juveniles and baby turtles of the slider and painted turtle species are more carnivorous and need a little bit more protein in their diet to account for their growing bodies. And so maybe look into feeding a specifically formulated turtle pellet for hatchling or juvenile turtles, and as they become adults, they gradually also become more herbivorous, and so you can start introducing greens, things like romaine lettuce, red leaf lettuce. I will link a spreadsheet to some safe vegetables and even fruits that you can feed your turtles. So keep in mind that once they are adults, you definitely don't want to be feeding them too much protein, because they are prone to having retained scutes if you feed them too much protein and they can grow too fast. More on that in other videos that I've done, but just make sure you're feeding them a well-rounded diet. Alright, so now with all the technical stuff out of the way, let's talk about personality and some of the personality traits of these species. So both painteds and sliders tend to be very, very personable. They can learn to recognize you and will swim up to the glass to beg for food or just to interact. They tend to be very outgoing and not shy, so if you're looking for a turtle that you will often see out and about, just swimming around, doing its thing, these turtles are great options because you will definitely see them swimming around the tank, basking, doing whatever, begging. So they are a great active turtle. They can be destructive when it comes to decoration, so if your goal is a beautifully aquascaped tank with everything always in perfect position, then maybe a slider or a painted isn't for you. Honestly, probably most turtles aren't for you because most turtles will rearrange their habitat. They might try to eat anything in their tank that looks like potentially food, so make sure that anything in your tank is gonna be safe for the turtle. And then as for turtle tank mates and keeping them with other turtles, in my opinion, although in the wild they can be gregarious, in captivity most people just don't have the space for each turtle to establish its own territory and feel secure in its own space, and that's where the potential for fighting breaks out. And for that reason, I prefer to house these turtles as only one to a tank. People have had success with cohabiting them with members of their own species, but I do advise that if you are going to try that, proceed with extreme caution because aggression can be a very, very serious matter and can escalate very quickly. But in my opinion, both painteds and sliders don't necessarily need friends to be enriched, and there are other ways that you can do that for them. And then as for fish tank mates, This is very much a hit or miss because in the wild they do see fish as prey, and so just know that any fish you are going to put in the tank have the potential of being eaten and hunted. I have found that I've had the most success with fish that are either small and fast or fish that will hold their own against the turtle, so like maybe a more aggressive type of fish such as a cichlid. Alright, so now before we wrap up really quickly, let's just talk about lifespan and how long these animals can live. And so there are actually a wide variety of estimates out there on the internet. I have personally only had my turtle for 3 years, maybe 4, and I adopted him when he was 10, so that would make him 13. 14 maybe. And so what you basically need to know is that these turtles can live upwards of 20 years, potentially to 40 years. You need to know that they'll be around for a long time. So what I'm trying to tell you here is if you want to get a pet turtle, please seriously think about how long of a commitment this will be and that this animal will be around for many, many years. So please don't make the decision to get a turtle lightly because that animal will be relying on you for its care. Alright, so that is all I have to say about sliders and painted turtles. I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, definitely just leave a comment in the comment section down below. If this video helped you, feel free to drop a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and have a totally awesome day. Bye-bye!